Hello everyone, it is our trades back here with another video. It is July 18th, 2025, and I'm going to keep it short in this video, guys. My name is Reese. I run this here Twitter, X, YouTube channel called Our Trades. I'm a full-time practicing attorney and an amateur day trader. In this video, I'm going to talk to you about the markets today, looking at the micro futures. I'm also going to have a look at the meme coins as well as some of the investments that I've been making. All right, guys. So before we get into the stock index futures wrapping up this Friday, I want to talk to you about a position that I am going to be holding over the weekend, and I'm going to tell you why. All right, guys. So this is micro Bitcoin futures on the daily chart. And as you can see, the micro Bitcoin futures have recently come over what I would describe as a triple top. We've reached a new all-time high on Bitcoin, and the micro Bitcoin futures reached an all-time high on Monday of 123,610. I have since largely been short Bitcoin, as I imagine that the market's going to come back and make somewhat of a retracement. Just looking at our Fibonacci retracement from the swing low up to our all-time high, 50% of that will take us back to 111,640 on the micro Bitcoin futures, and 61. What is that? 60. The 60.618, which is the Fibonacci number, would take us to 108,785. So, and then the 0.382 would take us to 114,000. Let's see here. 114,465. So I'm expecting a pullback in Bitcoin. Let's bring up the RSI. Let's bring in the Bollinger Bands, and let's bring up the RSI. All right, so our relative strength index, you can see, has come back down. We're now at 59.65 on the relative strength index on the micro Bitcoin futures on the daily chart. Looking at the Bollinger Bands here, which are the standard Bollinger Bands. I believe these are set to 2 standard deviations. Let me just make sure that is the case. That is the case. Looking at our Bollinger Bands, our middle band, or if we're looking at a mean reversion, what would that take us to? That would take us to 111,560 as of the close of business here on Friday. So, guys, am I expecting for Bitcoin to come all the way back down to 100,000 or something like that? I'm not calling for that yet, but I am expecting a return to about 111,000 if I had to take a wild guess right now. So I am holding Bitcoin short coming in to the weekend. I'm holding it over the weekend. Again, this is not prop firm money. This is real, live cash, and so there you go. So we had, as you can see, our Bitcoin price had a triple top. 1, 2, 3. We broke above that. Now I'm expecting the market to come back down at least to that 114,125 where our previous resistance was. That would be a good trade. But really, I think it's going to come down even lower than that. So I am expecting mean reversion on Bitcoin, and I am going to be holding it short on the futures side over the weekend. All right, so let's remove that, and let's go talk about the micro S&P 500 futures. And let's get on a weekly chart, look at how we're closing out the week. All right, guys. In last week's video, I called for the market to go down this week. I was wrong, which is why you should not trade solely based on what I have to say. I was wrong, and the market actually went higher and formed a new all-time high this week. I am yet again likely going to call a move back down, as I naturally think that things like to mean revert, and I don't see this. Our market's going to close right about where the high of last week was. This doesn't seem to be, in my opinion, a very large move above into the previous all-time high. I think this week's candle Let's see what the range was. We had a total range of 116 points. That's less than 2% on the entire week. That's a pretty restricted week. Let's get out some of our indicators. Bollinger Band. Let's get our Bollinger Bands on the weekly chart. As you can see, the middle band, or where price on average would be, is all the way down at 5,862 spot 54. That is on a weekly chart. We have reached new all-time highs on the S&P 500. You can see basically kind of a triple top. Well, more like a double top, and then piercing through that double top. I am yet again, without knowing anything about the news, I yet again would be cautious holding longs right now. I think that the market is going to come down and mean revert sometime in the near future. I think it's next week. I think next week, I'll call it every week until it happens, because I think the market is going to mean revert. And when it does, I think it's probably going to do it pretty. You can see that when the market likes to mean revert and it drops, it can do it pretty heavy. Okay. So when the market comes back down, it likes to do it violently, otherwise known as the staircase up and the escalator down. The market likes to go on a staircase up and an escalator down. So that is what I'm expecting. I'm expecting that we're going to have a significant move lower, 500 or so points, sometime in the near future, probably coming into Q3. If I had to guess, it's probably when it's going to line up with interest rate announcements, if I had to take a wild guess. The market does seem to be pretty much shrugging off anything tariff related. The market seems to be pretty confidently ignoring that. But there you have it. Okay, so I think next week I'd be again cautious holding long, looking for shorts, as I'm expecting the market to mean revert. Let's take a look at our daily chart with the Bollinger Bands. Again, we were riding that Bollinger Band higher. The market had a very tight range day on Friday, only like a 45-point range. Let's take a look at our implied volatility. All right, let's take a look at. I don't see volatility on here. Okay. Well, that's all right. See if there's any chart patterns. I think that'd be interesting. Okay, I clicked the button, but nothing. All right. Looking at the implied volatility. Oh, I can't do it. Okay. Guys, looking at the implied volatility, we can see that the vol has gotten very low. So basically what that means is that the market's been trading in really tight ranges. Let's take a look at the ATR, average true range, on the S&P 500 futures. Okay, and this is on a 14 period. You can see it's been pretty much steadily declining since April of this year. So our daily average true range on the micro ES futures is now down to 64.16. That's very low compared to where we were during April. So a few months ago, we had much higher average ranges. And as we've come into the summer months, our average true range and our volatility has been going down quite a bit, which is pretty seasonal. What I would have to say is that I expect coming into Q3 of this year, we're going to see wider ranges. We're going to see more market movement. We're going to see an increase in volatility coming into Q3. Once the summer is out, we hit Q3. I'm expecting that the market volatility is going to return, and that's what I'm expecting. Looking at the NASDAQ on the daily chart, we see much the same. The average true range has gone down to 278.84. We were riding the upper band of the Bollinger Band higher. We've reached what I believe to be a new all-time high this month in July. We've had 1, 2, we're coming on 4 green months in a row. Again, if I'm holding tech stocks, I'm trading the NASDAQ, I am expecting at some point we're going to see some mean reversion. I think it starts next week. I'm going to call it every week until it happens. Why? Because when it happens, I think it's going to hit really hard. So I want to be directionally correct. So last week I said I thought the week was going to go down. This week I'm going to say I think we get a red week next week again, because we've had 1, 2, 3, almost 4, pretty much 5 green weeks in a row, and then looking at our last 10 weeks, seven of them have been green. So we just haven't had a lot of two-way movement, and I think we are going to get two-way movement because that's just what the market does. Okay. All right. Let's take a look at crude oil coming in the week, ending the week on Friday. Crude oil's been stuck in a range. It's been pretty much bound for the past pretty much since the start of the year, if not earlier. We can see an upper bound of crude oil at $75, let's say $76, lower bound somewhere around $55. So we've seen a $20 range on crude oil. We're currently sitting right at the middle. If I'm trading this from a daily perspective, I'm going to be honest, I probably just wouldn't even trade crude oil right now, because the ranges are getting so small, tight. I probably wouldn't even trade crude oil right now, if I'm being honest with you. I would wait until there's a pickup in volatility and then maybe consider trading crude oil. Looking at gold. Gold this week, we're seeing the same decrease in volatility across the board in markets. Average true range on our daily chart is coming down to 51. Okay. We're sitting right. You can see a constriction in the Bollinger Bands, meaning that volatility has been decreasing. Our average true range is coming down. Whenever you have a constriction in volatility, you expect there to be an expansion of volatility coming soon. That's what I'm expecting for gold. That's what I'm expecting for equities. That's what I'm expecting for oil. I expect that as we come into Q3 of this year, August, September, October, we're going to see a significant pickup in volatility in the markets. I think we're going to see a correction or a downward movement in the stock indexes. I think we're probably going to see a downward movement maybe in gold. So we'll see that. Bitcoin may be, if I'm being honest, Bitcoin mostly, although a lot of people don't like to recognize this, Bitcoin pretty much follows the S&P 500. Not exactly, but it's kind of directionally the same as the S&P 500, but Bitcoin likes to lead. And I know this is kind of difficult to see, but look at the Bitcoin chart versus on the left versus the S&P 500 chart on the right. So it's pretty easy to see why I think that Bitcoin kind of follows the S&P 500, because they do. They're definitely correlated. But I think that Bitcoin leads the way. So I think if you see a large contraction in Bitcoin, which I am expecting, then I think you're going to see that. You're going to see that same thing happen in the S&P 500. And I was up on this trade quite a bit, and then I'm not up on this trade. And do I really want to hold this over the weekend? I think I do. I think it looks really weak, and I think that Bitcoin could have so I'm going to hold this over the weekend, come what may. All right, let's talk about what I invested in yesterday. I've got some money over here in Robinhood, and I put 110 shares here. That is worth $705 right now into YieldMax Ultra Option Income. That's ticker ULTY, and I did that to increase my dividend yield. I also recently got $1,000 of interest-free margin on Robinhood, and I paid for 61 shares of QYLD, which is market value right now at $1,023. 1,000 of that is on interest-free margin because I have Robinhood Gold, and I put it in QYLD for the yield. All right, so that is what I have been doing over on Robinhood. I bought 110 shares of ULTY, and I also put $1,000 worth of margin into QYLD. All right, looking over here at our meme coins, I have been making some money on the meme coin trading on Axiom Pro. If you are interested in the gamble that comes in with meme coin trading, then let me know. I will send you the referral link. This is on Axiom. Guys, this is basically just pure gambling, so don't do this if you want to be safe with your money at all. But there is a way that you can trade meme coins. All right, and that's what I've been doing, and I have thus far been successful, somewhat. I haven't lost money trading meme coins yet. What I like to do is I like to track some of these whale wallets and then kind of follow their activity. All right, guys, this has been my wrap up for markets July 18th of 2025. I want to thank you for joining me and hope that you have a good day. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and engage on X if you're watching on X. Please make sure to hit that like button.